The front door of my house swung open with such force that the hinges groaned in protest. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a regular Tuesday, and I was folding clean laundry in my bedroom when I heard Marcus's furious footsteps storming through the house like a hurricane. "Mom, where are you?" His voice echoed through the house with a rage I hadn't heard since he was a teenager. I left the shirts on the bed and stepped into the hallway. My son, at 42 years old, was standing in the living room, his face red and his fists clenched. His green eyes, inherited from his father, pierced me with a hardness that chilled me to the bone. "Why did Chloe call me crying, saying you changed the password on your card? She was at the grocery store and couldn't pay for her shopping. You humiliated her in front of everyone." I stood frozen in the doorway. 70 years of life had taught me to stay calm in difficult situations, but this was different. This was my own son screaming at me in my own home. "Marcus, lower your voice. We're educated people." My tone was firm yet serene. "And yes, I changed the password on my card because it's mine." "Yours? Mom, we're family. You can't just put up roadblocks when we need something." He took 2 steps closer to me, and for the first time in my life, I felt a knot of fear in my stomach. "The card is in my name, Marcus. It's my money." "Your money? Seriously? Are you going to be so selfish?" His words flew at me like projectiles. Chloe was just buying stuff for the house, food, cleaning supplies, normal things. I knew that wasn't true. I had reviewed my statements last week. $200 on makeup, $300 on clothes, $500 at an expensive restaurant, but I decided not to mention it right then. "Son, if you need money for something specific, we can talk about it like adults, but I'm not going to leave my card with no password for just anyone to use." "Just anyone? E? You're calling my wife? Just anyone?" His voice went up another notch. "She's your daughter-in-law. She's part of this family." I sat down in my favorite armchair, the same one where I had breastfed Marcus 40 years ago. I needed to maintain my composure, even though my entire body was trembling. "Chloe is always welcome in this house, but my credit card is not a family service." Marcus paced the living room like a caged animal. His shoes pounded the hardwood floor with every step. He was sweating despite the air conditioning. "I can't believe what I'm hearing. You've been generous your whole life, always helping everyone, and now that your own family needs support, you're acting like a miser." That word hurt more than any scream. Miser. I who had raised this man alone after his father died. I who had worked double shifts for years to pay for his college. I who had given him the down payment for his apartment. "Marcus, I will not let you talk to me like that in my own home." "Then give me a coherent explanation. Why change the password overnight without telling anyone?" I stood up from the armchair. My back protested, but I needed to be on my feet for this conversation because I reviewed my statements and I found expenses that I don't recognize. A lot of money leaving my card without my authorization. "All those expenses were discussed with you." "No, Marcus, they were not." He fell silent for the first time since he had arrived. His breathing was heavy, and the veins in his neck stood out against his dark skin. "Chloe told me she always asked you before she used the card." "Chloe is lying." The words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. The silence that followed was thick, heavy. Marcus looked at me as if I had just slapped him. "I won't let you insult my wife." "I'm not insulting her. I'm telling the truth." "The truth is you're getting paranoid. Meitao. It's time for someone else to handle your finances." Those words hit me like a lightning bolt. My own son suggesting I wasn't capable of managing my own money. My son doubting my mental capacity. "I think you need to leave, Marcus." "I'm not leaving until we fix this. Give me the new password right now." "No, son. I said no." I held his gaze. This is my house and my decision. If Chloe needs something, she can ask me directly. Marcus headed for the door but stopped before he went out. His voice was colder than ice. "This isn't over. We'll talk again when you get over your tantrum." "It's not a tantrum, Marcus. It's a decision. It's foolish, and you're going to regret it when you see how this affects our relationship." His words hung in the air like a threat. My own son threatening to cut off our relationship if I didn't give him access to my money. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Chloe is very hurt by your attitude. I don't know if she'll want to see you after this. Then that will be her decision. Marcus shook his head with contempt. You know what? You're right. This is your decision, and we'll make ours. The door closed with a dry thud. I was left alone in the living room, trembling. The begonias on the patio still needed water, but I no longer had the strength to water them. I walked to the window and watched Marcus's car driving away down the street. The tires squealed as he turned the corner too fast. 40 years of motherhood, and it came to this, my only son screaming at me for protecting my own money. The silence in the house felt different after he left. It wasn't the peaceful silence of the morning, but something denser, heavier, as if the air itself had changed. I sat down in my armchair again and closed my eyes. The conversation replayed in my mind like a broken record. Marcus's words, his tone, his fury, all for a password, all for protecting my own credit card. But in my heart of hearts, I knew this wasn't really about a password. It was about control. It was about boundaries. It was about the fact that for the first time in years, I had said no. The phone rang once, then twice. I let the answering machine get it. It was Chloe, her shrill voice cutting through the silence of my home. Sylvia, I know you're there. I hope you're happy with what you've done. Marcus is devastated. I don't understand why you're behaving like this with us. We're your family. Click. The line went dead. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes. The clock on the wall read 3:30. The day had started out normally with laundry to fold and plants to water. Now it felt as if I had lived an entire week in 2 hours. I got up and walked to the kitchen. I was hungry, but more than that, I needed to do something with my hands. Cooking had always been my refuge in difficult times. As I peeled potatoes for a late lunch, I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus's expression. The anger in his eyes wasn't new, but the coldness was. It was as if he had seen right through me and decided I was no longer worth his respect. But that sunny afternoon was just the beginning of the nightmare I would live. For 30 years, my routine had been my strength. I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, make coffee in the same coffee maker my husband had given me before he died, and check on the plants in the yard while the sun was just beginning to warm the tiles. It was an organized, predictable, safe life. After Robert's funeral, when Marcus was just 12 years old, I learned that structure was the only thing that kept us sane. Meal times, study times, bedtimes, clear rules, and firm boundaries. That's how we'd raise a good man, I thought. My 2-story house had been our refuge for 40 years. Robert bought it when I was pregnant with Marcus, with a loan we paid off over 20 years. Every room had a story. Every corner held memories. The backyard where Marcus learned to walk, the kitchen where I prepared thousands of family meals, the living room where we celebrate. At every birthday, the neighbors knew me as the woman who always had time to help. When Miss Carter got sick, I brought her food for 2 months. When the Perez family's son needed money for school, I lent them $500 without charging interest. Generosity had been my way of honoring Robert's memory. Marcus was always a good son, studious, respectful, affectionate. When he turned 25 and got his first job as an accountant, I was proud. My sacrifice had been worth it. For years, we were a perfect team. He handled my taxes. I cooked for him on Sundays. We visited each other regularly. Everything changed when he met Chloe. The first time he introduced her to me, I was making mac and cheese in the kitchen. Marcus came in with a smile I hadn't seen since he was a teenager, holding the hand of a thin blonde woman with perfectly manicured nails and clothes that cost more than my monthly salary. "Mom, this is Chloe, the woman of my life." Chloe smiled at me with perfect white teeth, but her eyes evaluated me from head to toe as if I were an obstacle she needed to remove. Her handshake was firm, but cold. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Johnson. Marcus talks about you all the time." During dinner, Chloe praised my cooking, asked about my garden, and showed interest in our family photos. She seemed genuinely interested in getting to know us. When they left that night, I thought I had found a good daughter-in-law. The next few visits were just as pleasant. Chloe brought me flowers, helped me wash the dishes, and told me funny stories about her job at the expensive clothing boutique downtown. Marcus seemed happy, and that was all that mattered to me. The wedding was small, but elegant. I paid for half the expenses without them even asking. He was my only son, my only chance to be a mother of the groom. Chloe chose everything: the dress, the flowers, the menu, the music. I just signed the checks and smile. D for the photos. For the first few months of marriage, the Sunday visits continued. Marcus and Chloe would come over for lunch, tell me about their new married life, and I enjoyed having him close. The house felt full again, like when Marcus was a boy. The first favors started innocently. "Sylvia, can you lend us some money? We're a little tight this month with apartment expenses." Chloe spoke to me in a sweet, almost timid voice. "It's $200. We'll pay you back on Friday." I gave them the money without a second thought. It was $200. I had enough savings, and they were just starting their married life. It was normal for young people to have financial difficulties at the beginning. Friday came, but the money didn't. Instead, another request arrived. "Mom, can you lend us $300 more? Chloe needs clothes for work, and I don't get my bonus until next month." $300, then $500, then more. Always with the same promise. "We'll pay you back soon." Always with the same excuse. "We're a little tight this month." After 6 months, my loans totaled almost $5,000. When I brought it up during a Sunday lunch, Marcus got uncomfortable. "Mom, you know we're going to pay you back. I don't understand why you're keeping such exact accounts. We're family." "Of course we're family, son, but $5,000 isn't." Chloe intervened with her most charming smile. "Sylvia, you're right. We've been careless with the payments. How about we give you my credit card as collateral?" I didn't want their credit card. I wanted my money, but I accepted because I didn't know how to negotiate with my own family. A week later, Chloe called me in a desperate voice. "Sylvia, I have an emergency. My card is blocked and I need to buy medicine for my mom. Can I borrow yours just for today?" I lent her my card. Just for a day, I thought, just for medicine. That night, I checked my statement online, $150 at the pharmacy. Perfect, I thought, but there were other charges too. $80 on cosmetics, $200 on clothes, $30 at an expensive restaurant. When I confronted Chloe the next day, she apologized with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Sylvia. I was at the mall and I saw some incredible sales and I just thought it would be okay. I'll pay you back tomorrow." She didn't pay me back tomorrow or the next week or the next month, but she did continue to ask for my card for emergencies. The emergency for her sister's birthday, the emergency for the shoes she needed for a wedding, the emergency for Marcus's anniversary gift, always emergencies, always urgent, always with promises of immediate repayment. After a year, I had lost count of how much money had left my card. My life savings were dwindling month after month, but every time I tried to talk about it, Marcus made me feel guilty. "Mom, I don't understand why you're so petty with us. You have enough money, and we're trying to get ahead." Petty. That word was etched in my mind for weeks. The Sunday visits became tense. I would cook, they would eat, but the conversations always revolved around money, bills they couldn't pay, unexpected expenses, opportunities they were missing out on for lack of cash. "If we had a better car, I could get a better job," Chloe would say while playing with her new phone. "If we could move to a nicer neighborhood, we'd have a better quality of life," Marcus would add while serving himself a third portion of my stew. I listened in silence, knowing their words were indirect requests for more money. One afternoon, while reviewing my bank statements, I realized something that chilled me to the bone. In the last 6 months, I had spent more money than I was earning from my retirement fund. My life savings were evaporating to finance Marcus and Chloe's luxurious lifestyle. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed awake until dawn, calculating how much money I had lost, how much they owed me, and how much longer I could sustain this situation before I was ruined. For the first time in 30 years, my morning routine did not bring me peace. The coffee tasted bitter, the plants seemed wilted, and the silence of my house felt like a sentence. Something had to change, but I didn't know how to confront my own family without destroying everything we had built together. The following months were a slow torture of small lies and big losses. Every week brought a new emergency. Every emergency required my card, and every use of my card turned into expenses I had not authorized. "Sylvia, I need your card to buy medicine for Marcus. He has an infection and needs expensive antibiotics," Chloe would tell me in a worried voice. An hour later, my phone would receive notifications of $400 in purchases at clothing stores. When I confronted her, she always had an explanation. I forgot to mention I also needed new underwear. Mine are really old, and Marcus complains. $400 on underwear. It was a special sale. 3 pieces for the price of 1. I couldn't pass up the opportunity. There was always a justification, always a reason why the extra expense was necessary, intelligent or inevitable. And I, who had raised an honest son, was beginning to doubt my own perception. The Sunday visits became financial review sessions. Chloe would arrive with a mental list of future expenses that required my support. "Marcus's cousin is getting married next month. We need new clothes for the wedding." Marcus's cousin. I knew my son better than anyone. He was an only child. His first cousin is like a sister to him. Marcus would nod without looking up from his plate. His silence had become complicit. "I need $500 for a dress and shoes," Chloe continued. "I can't show up looking shabby. His family is very elegant." $500 for a cousin's wedding I didn't know to impress people I didn't care about. But when I tried to refuse, Marcus would intervene with his new strategy, emotional guilt. "Mom, you don't understand how important this is for us. We're building a social reputation. My job depends on the connections I make at these events." His job as an accountant at a mid-sized firm didn't depend on any social connections, but I no longer knew how to argue with them without sounding like a stingy old woman. One Thursday afternoon, while I was watering the plants on the patio, I received a call from my bank. "Mrs. Johnson, we're calling to confirm an unusual purchase on your credit card, a $1,200 transaction at an electronic store. Can you confirm if you authorized this?" $1,200. An electronics store. I hadn't bought any electronics. "At what store was the purchase made at Tech World in the City Mall? Do you authorize it?" "No, I do not authorize that purchase. I'm canceling that transaction. Please block my card and send me a new one in 5 business days." I hung up the phone with trembling hands. $12,200. Chloe had my card since Tuesday to buy medicine for her headache. The phone rang 20 minutes later. "Sylvia, what did you do? My card is blocked and I'm in the middle of the grocery store with a full cart." "It's not your card, Chloe. It's my card. And I blocked it because there were unauthorized purchases." "Unauthorized purchases? All the purchases I made were necessary." "Were electronics necessary?" Silence. On the other end of the line. Then a nervous laugh. "Oh, that Marcus needed a new computer for work. His broke and he couldn't wait." "Why didn't you consult with me before making such a big purchase?" "Because we knew you would say no. You always find excuses not to help us when we really need something important." The accusation hit me like a slap. I, who had been financing their luxurious lifestyle for 2 years, was now the villain for protecting my own money. "Chloe, go home. We'll talk when you get here." "I can't go home. My cart is full of food and I can't pay for it. You come here and bring cash." I hung up the phone. For the next hour, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Chloe, Marcus, Chloe again. I let all the calls go to the answering machine. I needed to think. I took out all my bank statements from the last 6 months and spread them out on the dining room table. The numbers didn't lie. In January, I had $45,000 in savings. By June, $26,000 had disappeared in 6 months. I reviewed every transaction, every charge, every purchase. Expensive restaurants, designer clothes, perfumes, shoes, handbags, beauty treatments, weekend trips. Nothing Chloe had bought with my money was a basic necessity. The sound of the front door opening pulled me from my calculations. Marcus and Chloe walked into my house without knocking, as if they owned the place. "Mom, what happened with the card?" Marcus seemed more tired than angry. "I blocked it because I found purchases I didn't authorize." Chloe sat down on my sofa without an invitation, her arms crossed in a defiant expression. "Sylvia, all those purchases were discussed with you. You can't just block the card every time you forget something." "I didn't forget anything, Chloe. A $2,200 computer is a lot of money to not consult with me." "I did consult you. I told you Marcus needed new equipment for work." "No, you didn't. You told me you needed money for medicine." Marcus sighed and sat down in the armchair across from me. "Mom, sometimes emergencies change." Yes, she needed medicine, but when I got to the electronics store, they had incredible sales. I couldn't miss out on the opportunity. Incredible sales of $2,200. The computer normally costs $2,000. It was a bargain. I stared at him. My son, whom I had raised to be honest and responsible, justifying an impulsive purchase of over $1,000 as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Marcus, that computer was not an emergency. It was a luxury." "It's not a luxury. It's a work tool." "Then pay for it with your work money." Chloe stood up from the sofa dramatically. "I knew you were going to react like this. You always find a way to make us feel bad for asking for help." "I'm not making you feel bad. I just want you to respect my money." "Your money is always your money. We're family, Sylvia. Family money is for the whole family." "My money is mine, Chloe. I worked 40 years for it." Marcus stood up and started pacing the living room. "Mom, we understand your point, but you also have to understand ours. We're fighting to grow professionally, to have a better life. Your support is fundamental for us." "I've supported you for 2 years, Marcus. I've spent more than $25,000 on you." $25,000? Chloe sounded offended. "We haven't spent that much." I pointed to the papers spread on the table. "The statements are right here. See for yourself." Neither of them came to the table. Neither of them wanted to see the real numbers. "The point is," Marcus continued, "that we need to know we can count on you. Blocking the card without warning puts us in humiliating situations." "Humiliating?" "Yes, Mom, humiliating. Do you know how Chloe felt when her card was declined in front of everyone at the grocery store? It's not her card. It's the family card." Those words resonated in my mind. The family card. My money converted into community property without my consent. "I think I need some time to think." "Time to think about what?" Chloe sounded impatient. "If you want to keep lending us your card." "Of course you're going to keep lending it to us," Marcus said, genuinely surprised that it was even an option. "We're your family." I stood up from the chair and walked to the window. My garden looked beautiful under the afternoon sun. The red begonas were blooming. The white geraniums were growing strong. The bougainvillea was climbing the fence. Everything I cared for with my own hands was thriving. Why couldn't my relationship with my son be just as beautiful? "I want you to leave for today," I said without turning around. "Mom, please." "I need to be alone." I heard their footsteps heading for the door. Before he left, Marcus stopped. "We hope you reconsider your position. We don't want this to affect our relationship." The door closed softly. This time there were no slamming doors or screams, just the sound of my dreams of a perfect family slowly crumbling. But I didn't know this was just the beginning of something much worse. For 3 days, my house was wrapped in an eerie silence. There were no calls from Marcus asking for money, no surprise visits from Chloe with new emergencies. It was as if they had decided to give me time to reconsider my decision to block the card. On Friday morning, while I was having coffee on the patio, I decided it was time to face the reality completely. I had spent 2 years avoiding a detailed review of my finances, blindly trusting my family. It was time to see the real damage. I sat down at my computer and opened my online bank account. The number on the screen hit me like a punch to the stomach. 2 years ago, I had $45,000. Over $25,000 had disappeared. I printed every statement from the last 24 months. The printer worked for 20 minutes, spitting out page after page full of numbers that told the story of my own naivety. I spread everything out on the dining room table and started to categorize. Reasonable grocery purchases, occasional acceptable restaurants, but then there was everything else. March, $500 at a jewelry store. I hadn't bought any jewelry. April, $700 on women's clothing. I don't wear $700 clothes. May, $300 at a spa. I don't go to spas. June, $1,000 on electronics. I barely know how to use my basic phone. July, $800 on perfumes and cosmetics. My perfume costs $30 and lasts me 6 months. The list went on, page after page. Every month had purchases I didn't remember authorizing, expenses on things I would never use, money spent in places I had never been. I took out my phone book and dialed my bank's number. "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. How can I help you?" "I need detailed information on all my credit card transactions over the last 2 years. Can you send me a complete report?" "Of course. Is there a specific problem with your account?" "There are transactions I don't recognize." "I understand. We'll send you the full report by certified mail within 3 business days. I also recommend you check if anyone else has access to your card." "Someone else?" Chloe. After hanging up, I went to my room and opened the lockbox where I kept my important documents. My passport, the house deeds, insurance policies, and there at the bottom, something that chilled me to the bone, a copy of my credit card. I picked it up with trembling hands. It was a clear photocopy of both sides of my card, including the 3-digit security number on the back. In the bottom corner was a note written in Chloe's handwriting, "For emergencies." See. When had she made that copy? When had she been in my room without my knowledge? Since when did she have free access to my financial information? The phone rang. It was Chloe. "Sylvia, how are you? I've missed you these past few days." Her voice was sweet, like in the first few months after the wedding. It was the voice she used when she wanted something. "I'm fine, Chloe. Good to hear from you." "Hey, I have a tiny question. Do you remember your card security number? I want to buy something online and I don't have the card with me." The world stopped. She had a copy of my card, and now she was asking for the security code as if it were nothing, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Where is my card, Chloe?" "I have it, of course, like always. Didn't you give it to me to hold on to a few months ago for emergencies?" I didn't remember giving her my card permanently. I remembered temporary loans, one-day favors, specific emergencies. But according to Chloe, I had authorized her to keep my card indefinitely. "Chloe, I need you to return my card." "Why? Did something bad happen?" "I need to have it with me." "But Sylvia, how are we going to handle emergencies? We'll have to bother you every time we need something urgent." "Yes, you'll have to ask for my permission every time." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "You know what? We'd better talk in person. I'm coming over." "No, Chloe, just give me my card back." "I'm coming over," she repeated, and hung up. Minutes later, I heard Marcus's car parking in front of my house. This time they didn't come screaming. They rang the doorbell like normal visitors. I opened the door and found Chloe alone, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Hi, Sylvia, can I come in?" I let her in, even though every instinct told me not to. She sat on the sofa and took my credit card out of her purse. "Here's your card, but before I give it back, I think we need to talk." She placed it on the coffee table, but didn't push it toward me. "Talk about what? About why you suddenly don't trust us? About why you're acting like we're strangers? About why you've changed so much?" "I haven't changed, Chloe. I'm just protecting my money. Protecting your money from what? From us? From your own family? She stood up and started walking around my living room, touching the photo frames, adjusting the sofa cushions as if it were her own home. Sylvia, you know Marcus and I love you very much. You know, we would never do anything to hurt you, but lately, it seems like you see us as enemies. I don't see you as enemies. I just want to know exactly how my money is being spent. Exactly. She turned to me with a wounded expression. Don't you trust my judgment? After 2 years of being married to your son, you still think I'm a stranger. You're not a stranger, Chloe, but my money is still mine. She sat down again, closer to me this time. Look, Sylvia, I understand you feel uncomfortable. It's natural. When a woman reaches a certain age, it's normal for her to become more cautious with money. A certain age. The phrase hung in the air like a subtle threat. What do you mean by that? Nothing bad, of course. It's just that sometimes older people lose their ability to make rational decisions. They become more suspicious, more paranoid. Do you understand? I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. She was calling me senile, subtly, and without raising her voice. Chloe, I'm not senile, and I make my own decisions. Are you sure? Marcus told me you've been a little confused lately, forgetting things, repeating yourself. Marcus said that? Yes, he's worried. We're both worried. We just want to help you. The word help sounded like a trap. What kind of help are you talking about? We're talking about taking care of your money, your finances, your house. You're our mother. It's our responsibility to take care of you. My head was spinning. My house, my finances. This wasn't about a credit card anymore. This was about my life, my autonomy. Who told you Marcus and I want to take over your life? We just want to help you, and we'll start with your credit card. She gestured toward the card on the table, but the gesture felt like a gesture of ownership. I grabbed the card. Chloe's perfect smile vanished. Sylvia, give me the card back. I'm not giving you my card, Chloe. It's my money. I'm not going to keep financing a lifestyle that I don't have. But we're family. She stood up, her face now red with anger. It's not fair that you're so selfish. Oh, I'm not selfish. I'm protecting what's mine. Then you're going to lose your family. Marcus and I don't need a mother who doesn't trust us. She walked to the door, and before leaving she said, This isn't a threat. It's a consequence. The door slammed shut, echoing in the silence of my house. I looked at the credit card in my hand. It was just a piece of plastic, but it represented everything I had worked for my whole life, my freedom, my independence, my dignity. I sat down on the floor, trembling. I had just lost my only son, the only family I had left, but I had regained something more valuable, my self-respect. After that day, my life changed completely. Marcus and Chloe stopped calling. They stopped visiting. They erased me from their lives as if I were a bad memory. At first, the silence was unbearable. The house felt too big, too empty. I would cook for one person instead of 3, and the extra food would end up in the trash. I would go to the grocery store and buy only what I needed, without thinking about what Marcus and Chloe would like. I would go to the garden and water the plants, but the joy was gone. The colors seemed less vibrant, the sun less bright. I was alone, and the loneliness weighed on me. But one morning, something changed. I woke up with the sun on my face and decided that my life was not going to end because of a credit card. I had money, a house, and my health. I was only 70 years old. I decided to use the freedom I had regained to start over. I signed up for a painting class at the community center. I joined a book club. I started exercising. My neighbor Sarah, a woman my age, was my only contact with the outside world. She would bring me food, keep me company, and slowly, very slowly, helped me rebuild my confidence. One day she invited me to an event at the community center, a dance for singles over 60. I told her I wasn't interested. I was still grieving the loss of my family, but she insisted. It will be fun, Sylvia. What do you have to lose? I went. I wore a simple black dress that had been hanging in my closet for 10 years, and for the first time in a long time, I felt pretty. I danced with different men, but one man in particular caught my attention. His name was Robert, and he was 72 years old, with kind eyes and a warm smile. We danced a slow song, and he told me a story about his late wife. He lost his wife 5 years ago, and his children lived in another city. We exchanged numbers. He called me the next day, and we went for a coffee, the N for dinner, then for a walk in the park. Robert's presence in my life was like a breath of fresh air. He was a widower like me. He understood my loneliness without me having to explain it. He was a gentleman, and he treated me with the respect and affection that I had been missing in my life for years. I told him my story about Marcus and Chloe. He listened without interrupting, and at the end, he took my hand and said, "They didn't lose you, Sylvia. You lost them, and that's their loss, not yours." His words were a balm to my soul. Robert and I became inseparable. We traveled, we read together, we care for our garden, we have visits from his children when they come to town. We built a relationship based on mutual respect, genuine affection, and the simple joy of sharing the last years of our lives with someone who values us. At 72, I learned that it's never too late to defend your dignity. It's never too late to say no. It's never too late to start over. I lost a lot of money, and I lost my only son in the process. But I gained something more valuable, my freedom, my self-respect, and the chance at a true love in the most unexpected stage of my life. Every morning I wake up in my own house with my money safe in my own account, with a man who loves me for who I am, not for what I have. It is a victory sweeter than I ever imagined possible. Life taught me that sometimes to gain everything, you have to be willing to lose everything first.